Of the Athens Board of Zoning Appeals. The time is 7 p.m. and the date is February 9, 2016. At this time, I will call the meeting to order. The board consists of 5 members and 2 alternates, the alternates taking full part in the discussions and becoming a voting member in the absence of a member or when a member abstains for conflict of interest. Present tonight are members Ms. Betty Hollow, Ms. Kay Towsley, Ms. Joan Krasinski, and Ms. Lisa Carson. And the alternate member tonight is Mr. Ed Baum. Our other alternate member, Ms. Ellen Salto, has resigned for personal reasons, and we would like to thank her for all her services and contribution to the board and wish her the best. Also, and I am John Goldsey, the chair. Also, we have Mr. Paul Eschenbacher, the secretary. At this time, I would like to invite you to view a pre-recorded video on the rules and the procedures of the board.
The Athens Board of Zoning Appeals operates according to the following procedure. The chair will name and describe the case. The zoning administrator or secretary will state the basis of the objection and any applicable facts or conditions pertaining to the case. The appellant or their representative will give reason why the appeal should be viewed favorably. Anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in general comment will be heard. Anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be heard. If necessary, the appellant or their representative will offer concluding, summary, or rebuttal remarks. Testimony from the floor shall be closed. The board will deliberate and render a decision. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.03b, the board has power to grant variances from the strict application of the code, provided the variance will not be contrary to the public interest, the spirit of the code is observed, public safety and welfare are secured, and substantial justice is done. According to Athens City Code, Section 23.07.10c, variances from the code shall not be granted unless the board makes specific findings of fact, based directly on the particular evidence presented to it, that the standards and conditions imposed in this title, if applicable, have been met by the applicant. Exceptional circumstances. There are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. Because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions pertaining to a specific piece of property, a literal enforcement of these regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of public purposes. Preservation of equal property rights. Literal interpretation of these regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while a granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity. Minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property. Absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be of substantial detriment to adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest. Not of a general nature. The condition or situation of the specific piece of property or the intended use of said property for which variance is sought, one or the other or in combination, is not of so general or recurrent a nature as to make reasonably practicable the formulation of a general regulation for such condition or situation. Any person, resident, or officer, department, or appointed body of the City of Athens, aggrieved by a decision of the Board, may petition the Athens County Court of Common Pleas concerning the illegality of the decision. Such petition must be filed within 30 days after the mailing of the decision of the Board to the applicant. Thank you.
The board also has the power to hear requests for conditionally permitted uses, which we have a case tonight. There are two cases on tonight's agenda. Case number 16-01C, the property at 450 Richland Avenue, and the second case would be case number 16-02V, the property at 125 East Union Street. The board is required to take testimony under oath. Would anyone wishing to speak concerning any item on the agenda please stand? Do you swear or affirm that any testimony you will present to the board will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Be seated, please. Okay, going to the first case, case number 16-01C, Zone B2. The property is at 450 Richland Avenue, and Mr. Mitchell Endick is the appellant. The appellant is requesting a conditional use permit to allow a bed and breakfast business in the B2 zone. And again, all the requests for conditional use must be heard by the board and approved, and then the code office will issue the permit. Mr. Eschenbacher, would you like to add anything?
Nothing much. I think the appellant could probably explain his bed and breakfast more than anything. I just wanted to remind the board that a little while back we did approve another bed and breakfast that's actually one block down and across the street from this. We haven't received any complaints about that bed and breakfast. And I also wanted to say about 450 Richland Avenue that right now it is a legal rental. So it has been inspected on a regular basis. So it does have all the basic safety features that a rental would have. I'm not sure what would have to be added for a bed and breakfast. Athens City Council and the Planning Commission are busy grappling with definitions and parameters and stuff. In our code in Chapter 23, we have definitions for hotels and motels, but nothing for bed and breakfast. So they have to figure out how many people constitute a bed and breakfast, how long a stay, other conditions and such. So they're working on it right now. Hopefully, in a few months, we'll have much clearer definitions and parameters for bed and breakfast. But we have this now, so just that they're generally allowed in this zone.
I do have one question about B2 business zone.
Mm-hmm.
It says residential uses are permitted only on the second story and above.
This is a residential use for us has come to mean either rentals, long-term, regular rentals,
Right.
or private. If somebody would build for some reason a private home in a B2, but residential use means that for some reason hotel, motel is not included in that.
Well, hotels and motels and bed and breakfast don't seem to be included in this district.
Exactly.
Well, it is included, it is allowed in an R3.
Right.
And that is the residential zone and the conditional uses that govern, and it says B1, the conditional uses there are allowed from R3, and B2, even though it doesn't specifically say that, it has always been said that B2, all the conditional uses that are allowed in B1 and R3 are allowed in B2.
Okay.
The only limit of conditional uses in B2 is it can't be something that's first allowed in a B3.
Okay, so you're saying if it's allowed in R3 conditionally, that jumps up to B1 and B2?
Yes.
Except that B2 says you have to be upstairs.
For residential uses, it's just a difference between what's considered a residential use.
Isn't this a residential use?
Yes,
will be
but
living
with
there,
the
and they'll
conditional
be-
use permit, I consider residential use, but I'm not the one who makes the state laws and all that stuff. I don't think hotels and motels are considered residential uses because of the short-term stay. I think residential use for them means a place where someone can live, not just where someone has a bed and a bathroom and stuff like that, as I understand it.
Isn't that for B3?
We did, and as I said, we just, a little while ago, granted another bed and breakfast conditional use just down the street in the same zone.
Well, for some reason I blocked that out. Maybe I wasn't here that night. The only one I remember is the one on Stimson Avenue, and it was in fact upstairs, wasn't it?
Well, it was an apartment, yeah.
Upstairs. Okay, I don't want to make too much of this, but it does seem to be a little problematic.
Well, I guess how I'm reading this also is that it says for a B2B, under 230405, Section B, permitted accessory uses, and it's brief. But if you go to the R3 where it says permitted accessory uses, it's a lot more, it just, I think, explains it.
But this is not an accessory use. An accessory is like a garage or
You
a shop
can't live
or
in
whatever.
accessory use, yeah.
Right, exactly. So,
But I
This
think
is not
also,
an accessory use.
Ms. Kornansky, if you look up on not B, but at A3,
yes.
I think that's what's been governed the determination in the past. Any other retail business or service establishment or use.
Okay.
Permitted or not
Are you looking under B2 to
Yeah,
find that?
230405
Okay.
A3.
3.
3. Any retail business or service establishment or use to be the same general character as the above permitted uses, but not including any use first permitted or not permitted in B3. Okay.
And just as a matter of detail, the only conditional use that's listed in B3 that's not allowed in B2 are trailer parks.
Okay. I'm going to take your word for it.
It's true.
Okay. Okay. And should we count on the appellant to describe the property in terms of its size and number of bedrooms, et cetera, et cetera? Or do you want to tell us that?
Go ahead and have him.
Okay.
Yes, please come to the podium.
Since it says bed and breakfast right there.
Kenzie?
Bed and breakfast.
And please state your name and your address for the record.
I'm Mitch Endick. I live at 6377 Avondale Drive in Athens.
Okay, would you like to say something about your property and your plans for this bed and breakfast?
Sure. We have a house that is a really pretty house. It used to be, it originally was a Sears kit. So it has some historic value to it. And it is a rental now. It does need some work inside. And we want to turn it into a bed and breakfast because it's close to the university. It's next door to a car wash. And so we have plenty of parking because we also own a car wash. But for people to actually live there and stay there long term, it's kind of a noisy car wash when it's operating. So I think this is a better use for it. It's on the bus route, and there's no neighbors close by, except for a house next door, which has been vacant for years. I think someone just moved into it recently. But across the street, there are no houses. The car wash is on the one side, then you have the overpass. On the other side is one house and the firehouse. So we're not bothering any neighbors. If there are people worried about transient people, they're not really transient. It's quite expensive to stay there. It's going to be it's a 3-bedroom. Again, it's expensive, so I don't, it'll be a great thing for the house itself and also for the community. I'm really trying to maintain this house because it's so historical in my mind.
So,
Yeah, go ahead.
could you just describe the house a little bit more? It has 3 bedrooms, what, 1 bath maybe?
Yes.
Living room, dining space, what?
Yes. You walk up a set of stairs to the porch, the nice front porch. Walk into a living room. Around the side is like you might call it an office. There's a kitchen in the back with a back porch. And then to the right is, it's all beautiful wood floors. To the right, it's a set of stairs up and there's 3 bedrooms and a full bath upstairs. We'll probably go through the situation of adding a bathroom downstairs also, like a full bath downstairs, and of course work on the inside of the place. But it has great bones. I mean, it's beautiful wood floors. It's just a great place. It's really built well.
Any questions? I've noticed that you had a storage area in the back. Is
do.
the car wash going to be operating? Or?
The car wash is going to be completely redone.
Okay.
All new equipment, all new outside exterior. We're going to bring it back to the block. All new exterior. It's going to look gorgeous.
And it's still going to be $1?
No. No. Sorry, but I just can't do $1 anymore.
Okay. Go ahead.
I noticed that shed in the back, or that large building, is that, and that is used for what?
That is a storage area used by a local medical facility to maintain the record storage.
Okay, and is it on the piece of property that the house is located on?
It is behind it.
Okay, so it's all on the same lot.
The house and that storage building are on the same lot. The car wash is on 2.5 additional lots. But that building is behind the house.
I guess if you could wait 1 minute.
Sure.
Mr. Eschenbacher, a question. If we're changing use of the house, is changing use, do we have to deal with rear setbacks? Do we have to deal with side setbacks?
No, not, I mean, it's the location of the building itself, not the use. So there's no differentiating rear yard setback based on the use. Since he's not adding on to it or constructing or adding cubic content, then it's grandfathered. If he were to add on to it or add cubic content, then yeah, that, if he was not conforming in any of the bulk controls, that would come into play. But just changing use does not.
Okay, so what about this storage facility that's a totally other thing? R3 says accessory use or structure permitted and is regulated in R2 and customarily incidental or accessory to a principal permitted use or conditionally permitted use in R3. So is this customarily incident or accessory to the primary use? It's a whole nother thing. Storage for a medical business?
That use is allowed in a B2.
Well, that's not my question. It says customarily incident or accessory to a principal permitted or conditional use. So the conditional use would be the bed and breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
It's not accessory to that use. It's a whole nother entity. You're not following me, are you?
I don't understand what
Okay.
what the question is.
Okay.
If he has an accessory building on the lot, which is allowed,
Yes, exactly. But it supposedly is connected to the use of the house rather than being
it doesn't
a whole
have to
nother-
be if the complete use of a bed and breakfast can be done in the main house.
Okay.
And there's
I'm with
nothing
you.
for the
I'm
accessory building.
Taking your word for it. Okay,
Okay.
thanks.
There's a separation between the two buildings. Between the house and the building is a separation. They don't physically touch.
No, I didn't think they were.
Also, if you noticed, his permit application was rather basic. He just said bed and breakfast.
Right.
When he comes back to us, if he gets the conditional use and stuff, he'll have to come back to us with a bit more detailed plans. So we'll see if he's going to do something bizarre, like use that accessory building for something other than what he's using it for now and all that sort of thing.
Okay.
But that's what the rest, the next time he submits something, that will be what we check.
Right.
Make sure that everything goes to ordinances.
Okay.
So under the circumstances, staff parking is still acceptable? That would.
I don't believe it is for a business use, no. I don't see why it would be allowed for business use. which is what I would consider this first over residential. But like he says, he has plenty of parking, whether it's back to back or side to side, which you can ask him about. But
Okay.
yeah,
So-
I think it would have to be all accessible.
So where would the parking be for the proposed bed and breakfast?
There's a driveway to the right that'll hold at least 2 cars. It's one driveway, so it's good for 2 cars. And then on the left-hand side of the house, there's a whole long strip, which is good for at least 4 cars. And then in front of the car wash itself, there's additional parking.
And this is on a separate lot, and you
by the
own
road.
both lots?
We own, there's 3.5 lots there. We own all 3.5 lots. But there are there's at least parking for 2 cars on the actual property itself.
Right, but we're discussing that bed and breakfast is then a business, and you can't have stacked parking. So you can only park one vehicle there.
Okay,
That's what I'm trying to determine here.
okay.
Any other questions from this side for Mr. Endick? You may be seated.
Thank you.
Well, we don't have the regular typical findings. The finding in here is 230702, and we are going to read Part E. I provided a one-page summary a couple months ago. Conditionally permitted uses.
We should talk about a motion, and maybe if we have any discussion.
Sure, go ahead.
Well, I guess my concern here is that City Council is right in the middle of trying to make a determination, and which could come in a matter of months, and it just seems as an arm of the administration. I feel uncomfortable making a decision on such an issue because right now City Council is attempting to legislate bed and breakfasts and where they will be and how they will be operated. And I know we've done one in the past, and we're going to go through these findings, and even though Mr. Eschenbacher says that we had approved one recently,
Right.
but it does say that each conditional use is considered as an individual case. And
Well, my take is that the appellant has applied for this. The code office has already put on the agenda. And I think we don't know when the city council is going to review that and make a ruling. And we have this agenda on hand right now, so we need to make a decision.
Well, and I think too, John, it is a conditional use. So that's not necessarily something that's just written in stone. It's granted on condition that, whatever that is.
yes, so we can add in that,
Well-
right? That would be up to us, right?
Well, okay. Okay, that's
I mean, we
all
can
got.
insert conditions if we choose to do so.
We can do that, or it's something that my understanding is that the zoning administrator or the board could withdraw it if it was not complying with whatever the regulations set forth are. And if the city changes the rules, either this will be continued as is because we approved it, or they'll say, oh, no, they won't do. But they're going in the direction of this rather than not, I think.
I guess I only had, and this is my objection with the B2 business zones and bed and breakfast, and I'm not quite sure how they'll go with this, but there is one, Hickory Street, there is a person that actually owns and resides at that address. When you look at the adjoining properties, which would be a residential neighborhood, residential property. I'm not sure what zone that is on Hickory Street, I think go look at the map, but then we're betting a bed and breakfast next to residential property. I guess that's my big concern.
That would be worse than a car wash next to their...
That car wash already exists.
Yeah.
Well, only because in the past there's been several in various cities, and I'm not suggesting that the applicant would even do this, but I'm just saying these things have happened. One I read in the New York Times, the other one the mayor told me about that he heard of when he was at a mayor's conference in Tennessee, and they were having problems because they had instituted this bed and breakfast, added it to their code, and then they realized that were having a lot of problems, that people were having various kinds of rowdy activities, and people would come to stay in these bed and breakfasts. The same thing happened down in Austin, Texas, and residential neighborhoods were because it was instituted in the code, had no recourse, and it was.
Those are the issues. Those are the issues that the police will take care of. If there is noise, they will report. I don't think we should just base our discussion on there might be rowdy people coming in there.
Well, I mean, you have to make a lot of considerations, and I just want to bring that point forward that that is an issue, and since City Council hasn't determined, I know they are saying that they may not want owner-operated. I mean, that's why the Planning Commission said owner-operated for bed and breakfasts and moved that idea forward to City Council, so that there would be control of the operation, somewhat on-site.
Okay, while you are thinking about any conditions for the motion, let me ask if is there anyone wishing to speak in favor of the request? No? Okay. Is there anyone wishing to speak in general comments? Is there anyone wishing to speak in opposition of the request? Okay, now the discussions is closed from the floor, and we are looking for maybe a motion, or if you want to have further discussions.
I missed what you just said, I'm sorry.
I asked if there is anyone who would like to speak in favor of this request.
Okay.
And then I asked if there is anyone who wants to make a general comment.
Is it possible for me to say one more thing?
Sure.
Yes.
Come to the podium, please.
I just wanted to say that the actual neighborhood itself seems to be mostly behind us, is partly student and partly owned by actual owners, but since that building's behind the house, it's so separated from behind us. We're mostly looking at the front, and with having a car wash there, I think everybody is used to a little bit of noise, but I don't think it's going to be a party house. It's just too expensive, and it's just not going to happen. So.
Okay, thank you. You would like to say something? Did you swear in that? Okay, please come to the podium. State your name and your address for the records.
Laura Endick, and I live at 6377 Avenel in Athens, Ohio. And I think this is a good idea, and I 100% support the bed and breakfast. So.
Okay, thank you.
That's it.
Okay, did you also swear in to tell the truth? Are you in favor or opposition?
I am in favor.
Okay.
My name is Cody Endick. I live at 6865 Avenel Drive. I'm in support of it because we would be doing a lot of construction on the house. It is a nice house, and it could be a lot better. And it wouldn't be a party house, being that there would be a glass ceiling as far as price. And I think it'd add a lot to the area. That's all I have.
Okay, and if there was a party, they will call you, right?
I hope so.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Silliness.
Joan, you want to draft the motion? And
Do I?
if you want to add any conditions, we probably have to talk to the appellants or let them know.
I move that the board approve a conditional use for 450 Richland Avenue, Zone B2, case number 1001C,
16.
requesting conditional use permit to allow a bed and breakfast business in a B2 zone.
Ms. Nancy, can I add, when I wrote out the conditional use request, I forgot to put the specific ACC number that it refers to. So can I give you that number then?
Yes.
Okay, it's 23.04.05 A3.
So it should read appellants requesting a conditional use permit under Athens City Code 230405A3 to allow bed and breakfast in a B2 zone.
Yeah.
I second.
Okay, we have a second. So again, this is going to be simple. We're going to go read the conditionally permitted uses, general provisions. The BZA may authorize the issuance of a conditional use permit in accordance with the following provisions. 1. Conditional uses for which a permit is issued are permitted in the zone. And according to what we had in Richland Avenue, such a request is, this is permitted. This.
No, we have permitted it. It is not explicitly permitted. There's a little bit of difference.
Okay.
But I'm not going to quarrel too much about it.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Baum?
No.
No. Number 2, each conditional use is considered as an individual case. So, number 3, the BZA shall find that this case conforms to the specific requirements enumerated in each section and also these standards. And Mr. Schumbacher, that sections are already covered.
Yes, so far, and as I said before, when they hand in, if this gets approved, if they hand in another application, they'll have to conform to any remaining regulations, city and state.
Okay. And the following standards are: A, the conditional use complies with all applicable city regulations. B, the conditional use will be of such location, size, and character that it will generally be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the zone. It will not be detrimental to the orderly developmental of the adjacent properties, nor inconsistent with the city comprehensive plan. And the last one, C, the ingress and egress from the parking area is so designed as to cause minimum interference with the traffic on abutting streets.
Question.
Yes.
And I guess this is for Mr. Eschenbacher. And under conditional number 3, the case conforms to specific requirements and all applicable city regulations. If, when they do make the final application to the code office, it is possible that they would have to come back for any other variances.
Not that we know of, no. They have adequate parking. I don't think they have any plans to put a sign out that's too large or in the wrong location. What we'll have, I can't say definitely no. Right. We have to see what their next application says. It's possible they might have to come back. I don't foresee a reason why, though, unless again, they would do something like add on to that, add to the footprint, add to the cubic content, want too big of a sign, want lesser parking that's allowed, any of the normal things we would see about a variance. But they shouldn't, but I can't say definitely that no, they wouldn't.
I guess I would, if it's possible, I know we have a second, to add that occupancy is limited to 3, which I didn't think of, but I think that should be stated.
Why do you want to specify that?
Why not? He has 3 bedrooms.
You know, when you have a bed and breakfast, somebody goes for a weekend outing, they might be a family of 5. So how would you exclude that? This is not a rental that you want to have 3 per 3 bedroom. Am I correct, Mr. Eschenbacher?
Well, I can tell you that what was talked about last night was limiting it to 3 bedrooms, 3 people?
Don't know.
Did they specifically say bed and breakfast?
Well, of course, it's not
Yes.
passed, but this is what's being debated. And the question last night was to put a specific number on it, and that number did not go past 3. It's 3. And again, I can't remember whether that was people or bedrooms, so sorry about that. But there is being talked about.
Yes.
So,
What happens if you had a couple of couples come in?
well, I guess
each
they,
couple is going to be in one bedroom.
if it turned out to be people who were limited, then they wouldn't be allowed to stay, 4 of them.
But we don't
again,
have, but there's
I
nothing
think-
that's been determined.
I think it's talking about 3 rooms.
Also, I
rather
should
than
say
people.
that I believe that
It's probably
you're not granting them a variance where
No.
if it's a conditional use that and council comes up with rules down the road, they'll have to follow them.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Which
what
including-
Betty
And I
said.
think
limiting
I think
number.
I think it's
3 rooms,
3
3
rooms,
rooms.
3 bedrooms.
I don't
I'm pretty sure
watch
it's
the
3
council and planning commission. I just wait for them to
I
make a
don't
final
either.
determination, then I go for
But
that.
I'm pretty sure it's 3 rooms.
Yeah.
Okay, and that's what they're asking.
Okay,
Yeah, but
so-
at any rate, they'd have to follow the rules, whatever
Sure,
rules were
okay.
set up for them.
Okay.
Okay.
Are we ready to vote? Once we get a full shot of all the board members, then all the members in favor of this request, please raise your hand.
Okay.
So we have 5-0. Okay. And for the audience, Mr. Baum is not voting tonight because we have full 5 members already. But he's not against it. Right?
I know that. How do you know?
Well, I guess I could legally say that if I could vote, I would vote it in favor.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you. You have your request. Okay, we're going to move on to case number 2. Case number 2 is case number 16-02V, the property at 125 East Union Street. And Mr. Patrick Dowlery is the appellant. This is also zone R3. The appellant is requesting a variance from ACC 23-1001, a schedule of bulk controls, table B, office street parking requirements, to allow construction of an apartment building with 12 parking spaces where 15 parking spaces are required. Mr. Eschenbacher, I think we should probably add something to this statement because the appellant is actually offering 2 options, one with 3 deed-restricted parking spaces, which is over 250 feet. So we probably should base our variance over the 250 feet.
That's fine.
Or the second option would be 3 non-deed restricted within 250 feet, but it's not restricted. So I think the preference was for deed restricted over 250 feet. Would that be okay with everyone?
I'm not sure that I agreed to that condition.
It's not a condition, it's a part of the request.
Okay.
I mean, they are offering 3
Okay,
spaces.
I understand that. But I don't want to say too much until I hear what they have to say, but my initial feeling is this is new construction. They should comply. Now, I'm willing to hear what they have to
sure,
say.
okay.
But if you put it into the motion, it's either 250 away this way or 250 this way, so they can have 15 units with only 12 parking, then I'm going to say no. So let's make a motion that allows us to talk about it and then perhaps add the conditions.
Well, again, this wasn't really a condition. Would you rather give a variance for 12 parking space, or would you rather give a variance for 12 parking space plus 3 either
No,
outside?
that's what I'm saying. I'm not in favor of giving them 15 units with 12 parking spaces.
Okay, that's okay.
At the moment.
Also, I
could
think we
change
should ask the appellant when he gets
Yeah,
up there.
yeah,
what he
yeah,
wants to
yeah.
go.
I'm willing to listen
that's
to
fine.
what he has to say, and then we'll
So, do
make
you
a
have
motion.
anything else to add?
No, I just wanted to show you the plans.
Yeah, that would be good to see the plan.
There's the lot, that's what it's going to look like.
Okay.
There's the lot. Will be East Union here
Okay. All right.
as it comes down
Okay.
from the crack in this way to the front entrance. Obviously, some of the parking is underneath,
Okay. All
and
right.
then the 4 spaces out and back.
Okay. So we've got how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8
9,
underneath,
10, 11, 12.
and,
Yeah,
and
8
4
underneath.
outside. Okay. And then he's got. This is a first floor one.
I think it represents all 3 floors.
Right, there's a second
It's a
sheet.
3-bedroom, 3-bedroom apartment and a 2-bedroom.
Okay.
On each floor.
On each floor.
Yeah.
Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3. Okay, and
2-bedroom.
2. Okay. So we've got 5 and 5 and 5. Okay.
That's
All
John
right.
wants.
Okay. Okay. All right.
I went down and looked at these. Because we didn't get them, I had no idea what
I
they were
know,
doing.
exactly.
If you want to look at, this is, I went down and got this too, they made a copy for me. This is the property, so that's Union, so you could see how, because it was such a peculiar,
That's
I'm glad to
useful
share
too.
that.
So the lot is odd shaped.
Is that, John, was it this little triangle?
Yeah.
Right, yes.
Yeah. You want to see this a little bit? It shows it pretty clearly. And have you got plans down there?
It's the same.
Okay. All right.
Here, I see.
Okay, would the appellant please come to the podium and state your name and your address for the records.
Good evening. My name is Patrick Doherty. I live at 22 Hudson Avenue. Would you like me to continue with my
Yes, please.
presentation?
Go ahead. Yes.
Wanted to make sure I was following it appropriately. As you have seen, and as I've said, my name is Patrick Doherty, and I'm requesting permission to build a 3-story apartment building that is going to have 6 total units with 15 total bedrooms and 12 total parking spots on site. I'm here to present my case for the variance on the 250-foot distance requirements for 3 of those 15 parking spots required for the project. And like you mentioned before, I plan to deed restrict 3 of my extra parking places at 7 Palmer Street, which is more than 250 feet away, to satisfy these parking regulations for the proposal. And I've already submitted my narrative addressing the criteria and requirements to establish a need for the variance, so you probably don't want me to read that to you again. But in efforts to systematically answer all those questions on the appeal application, I found that my narrative became a little redundant and confusing as a result. So this little presentation, I'm hoping, will be a similar version of that narrative, where I'm going to provide a little bit of additional material and perspective in the hopes of being a little clearer too.
Okay.
So I work as general manager for Bobcat Rentals, and I'm related to the owners. Next to the subject property, they already own 4 newer buildings with 130 bedrooms and over 150 parking places, all of which is very well maintained. And as long as our family remains in business and I manage the parking situation for our business, I plan to use 3 of those closer parking places right across the street without really necessarily executing a formal lease between us. Nevertheless, should one of us ever sell, change the use, change our minds, this variance would, this variance for the deed restricted parking places on Palmer will ensure those 3 spots will always go with the subject property, as well as providing for a clean separation between us with no strings attached. However, though, if the formal lease option does sound like a better alternative to the board, then I'm here to entertain that idea as well. My uncommon situation continues as I have the opportunity to actually combine forces with my family to use that nearby extra parking and construct this exact same building, or even a bigger one with less green space, all without the need for any special permission. So the current law says it's perfectly fine for us to combine forces and build the bigger building with less green just because his parking's a little bit closer. And conversely, I can't because 20% of my smaller, greener project, 20% of that parking is beyond 250 foot. So please realize, though, that teaming up is my last resort, as I would very much rather do this alone by myself. And having previously been involved in other partnerships that went unexpectedly, our family has maintained a business model of shared growth through independent ownership for over a decade. So in addition to promoting the smaller and greener project, the variance will also allow for the continuation of normal business operations within our company and family. Another point I wanted to touch on is the unintended consequences of some of the current parking regulations. Many trends are easier to identify with larger housing complexes and landlords who are more likely to track this information. Our office reached out to several of the larger housing complexes around town to find out just how much of that parking they used, of the required parking. The places that had these figures supported our own data, suggesting an average of 75 to 80% of the required parking is used by the people there. I consider this a prime example of how the one-to-one space-to-bedroom regulation has had some unintended consequences of more parking in pavement than needed, among others. Considering that the subject property is going to be managed with the 130 bedrooms across the street and the 150 parking spots that are there, we're still over the one-to-one parking space-to-bedroom requirement as a whole. So with the addition of that subject property, the entire complex is going to have 5 buildings, 145 bedrooms, and more than 160 parking spots on site. So when I look at these numbers, there's still going to be at least 15 extra parking places after the addition of the subject property. So unless something catastrophic happens with our family and the business with us, I really will probably not utilize those places, those parking spots on Palmer, having that access to the ones closer. And about 10 years ago, the city representatives paid for a comprehensive plan to help address several key developmental issues for Athens that was poised for growth. One issue concentrated on housing for the student population in the area they defined as the Mill Street neighborhood, which contains the subject property. And according to Phase 2, Chapter 1 of the comprehensive plan, the land in the Mill Street neighborhood is targeted for intensive redevelopment, where a higher density of pedestrian-friendly residential buildings are encouraged over this entire location. My proposal closely aligns to the residential density suggestions and will also contain over 100 feet of missing sidewalk, which is certainly needed on that side of the street. So since I'm proposing a higher density building that's pedestrian friendly and follows the recommendations of the comprehensive plan, we can only conclude that the granting of this variance is in accord with the general purpose and intent of the code for this particular zone. The building is going to be similar to the existing ones owned by Bobcat Rentals across the street. They'll be properly maintained together inside and out with more curb appeal than most in this neighborhood. In my scenario, this variance will not be detrimental to the locale, but rather it will attain the best use for this property by inserting a brand new apartment building comparable to those around it. This project will be denial of this variance will deprive everyone of reasonable use of this land, as it will be denying the city's own suggestions for improving the Mill Street neighborhood as detailed in the comprehensive plan. So turning down a neighborhood improvement proposal that follows these suggestions of the plan is a hardship endured through strict application of the code in this instance. So by adopting the comprehensive plan and looking at the evolution of this area since then, Athens has been promoting this exact kind of organized growth in these exact environments. My proposal, like I said, will create and uphold curb appeal uniform to the current Bobcat Rentals buildings, and it will also improve the buffer between Ohio University property and the Mill Street neighborhood. The granting of this variance will not substantially increase congestion in the public streets because there will be off-street parking for each resident, and the addition of a new sidewalk will help keep pedestrians out of the street. Public safety should increase by assembling more students into an environment that best suits their needs. and because people will now be able to walk on the sidewalk instead of the street over there. At a Builders Association meeting last Wednesday, February 3rd, Mayor Patterson echoed my sentiments by outlining parts of his vision for future growth in Athens. When specifically asked how the parking needs were going to be met for his multi-use plans at the Armory, he expressed the intention to look into rezoning that section of Court Street and also to look at modernizing our parking requirements. He continued with his opinion that because these newer generations of people don't all have cars or even want them like in the past, we need to look at revamping our code to consider parking maximums instead of minimums, among other changes and ideas. As the highest official elected in town, I feel his concepts for Athens should at least be considered in this deliberation. I've also recently heard similar attitudes regarding adjusting some of the parking requirements from the previous code director. I don't know the exact reasons for his departure, but I feel his viewpoints should also be considered not only because he's educated on these matters of code and development, especially as they pertain to Athens, but also because he was a valuable resource and integral part of our local development process. His knowledge and interpretations were so valuable in the eyes of the city actually paid him to analyze these issues and then represent the city based on his knowledge, interpretations, and findings. Unlike most that have come here for some sort of parking variance, I have all the parking needed for this project and the majority is on site. The 20% of my required parking that I'm statistically unlikely to utilize is not far from the subject property. It's also doubtful I'll ever use those parking places, obviously because of my situation managing the closer lots. In the event of the future unknown, the variance forever keeps those 3 spaces with the subject property, and this would be less of a variance than others who have already been awarded, as I'm asking for fewer spaces, shorter distances, and I'm not leasing these spots from anybody else. So with the support of the comprehensive plan and the mayor's vision for the future of Athens, and by aligning this project with the views of the previous code director, in accordance with Athens Revised Code, I request a variance from the 250-foot radius parking requirement to deed extra places at 7 Palmer to the subject property for this project. I believe the majority of the community would approve with the granting of this variance, as evident with the numerous support letters I have, and also agree that it's a progressive step along the path laid out in the comprehensive plan. The increase of housing stock closer to campus also helps to invigorate conversion of rentals in our neighborhoods back to owner-occupied housing. Bobcat Rentals has a reputation of properly maintaining their properties, not only within the code department, but this reputation is also around town. I think we're the only property owners who are out there bright and early to clean up after the fall and spring fest that take place at our locations. And when the snow falls, I also challenge you to find a Bobcat Rental sidewalk still covered in snow at the end of the day. I'm proposing a higher density, pedestrian-friendly, residential development where this is all encouraged word for word by the comprehensive plan. I'm only trying to accomplish the goals outlined in this comprehensive plan within Athens code requirements to achieve the highest and best use for this property. So I've pretty much concluded with my presentation and welcome any comments or questions at this time.
Okay, I've got a question.
Yes, please.
Okay, so you're the manager for Bobcat Rentals.
That's correct.
And you have a familial relationship with that
That's
operation?
correct.
Okay.
The owners.
So is this partially their project as well
No,
as yours?
this is all me.
This is your project?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Thanks.
Is this your first?
No, this will be my first multi-unit apartment. I've got a couple other places around town also.
Rentals, but
Rentals,
I mean
yeah.
new construction project. Is this your first new construction
No, this will be
project?
my fourth. So, but it'll be my first apartment building. However, I'm obviously going to lean on the expertise of my family who helped develop the other 4 buildings, larger buildings that were already down there.
Any other questions for the appellant? You have a chance to come back if there is any other questions. Thank you. Is there anyone who would like to speak in favor of this request? Please come to the podium and state your name and your address.
Good evening. My name is Bo Goodrich. I live at 103 West 3rd Street in the Plains. I also own properties in Athens, so this interests me as well. I'd like to say a couple things. I'd like to express my humble opinion on the 125 East Union Street property. I find the variances to be beneficial to the community and the business owner. I can personally vouch for the company representing the parking. I've been a tenant there 2 or 3 times over the past 10 years, and I can assure you that they take care of their properties. They're clean, they're safe environments, and they're more concerned about that than the profitability of what they're doing. I believe that allowing Mr. Doherty to go outside the 250-foot required distance for additional parking would be a minimal request for the quality of student housing he and his company provide successfully within Athens. For his 12 years in the development of housing, his company has been highly regarded as premier renting for tenants. And I'm all about the small business owner because I own some myself. And I think it's going to benefit the local economy. And I urge you to consider this small request to improve the safety for the students as well with the foot traffic down in that area, because I also have a property very close to that, and I do like the curb appeal to it. I think it's going to spruce up the area. And that's all I had to say. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor? And if not, Mr. Reichenbacher, you have some letters, right?
Yes, we've received 14 letters. I would have made copies and given them to the board, but almost all of them have come in the last 2 days. Do you want me to read one of them, all of them?
Just maybe the names and...
I've read all 14, and they mostly make the same points about they're in favor of the variance. They think that Mr. Doherty and Bobcat Reynolds take good care of their properties. There's a couple of mentions of the idea of not needing a 1-to-1 ratio for parking in a couple of the letters, that perhaps 75 or 80%, as was discussed, is okay by these people in the letters. I'll just go ahead, I'll read one that's typical of it. This is from a neighbor. Dear board members, this is from Andrew P. Vogt, who owns the property at 53 Stewart. Dear board members, I apologize for not being able to attend the meeting as it is my birthday and I have plans with my family. I am writing in support of the project going on at 125 East Union Street. I truly believe that is exactly what we need to continue to do with development in the student neighborhoods. I believe this helps keep the students concentrated in the immediate campus area and protecting our residential neighborhoods. I've seen firsthand how Bobcat Reynolds maintains the integrity of their properties. I drive down Palmer Street every day after going to the post office. Most every day I will see one of the staff cleaning up trash or sweeping the leaves from the street. The properties are some of the best in town. It is owners like this that should receive a variance. Thank you in advance for your consideration. Very truly yours. Once again, Andrew P. Vogt.
Could you please pass those?
Pass
Sure.
them through so we can see who sent the letter.
Yes.
I thought the birthday should not come in the way of zoning meeting, right?
The what? The birthday?
Well, I'm just wondering if Mr. Daugherty has a lot of family members that he encouraged. I mean, it does seem...
Question.
Yes, so...
None of those are related.
No, I figured they weren't, but I had to poke a little fun at them, right?
Sir, are you here to speak in general comments or opposition?
In support.
In support? Okay, go ahead.
Tony Farian, 8800 Lavelle Road. I believe Patrick did an excellent job for his first time in front of the board. Having been in front of you guys multiple times over the years, it seems like every single time I'm up here, it's a parking-related issue. I'm going to basically just share my experience with parking in the same area that Patrick was referring to, the apartment buildings that I put up over the last 5 years down there. And when I started off with those buildings under the 1-to-1 ratio of cars, what I found after the first 2 buildings was my parking lots were at least 20% empty, which was actually a surprise to me. So in coming to the Planning Commission to build the remaining 2 buildings, I had suggested at the time that I reduce the amount of parking. I was going to put up an additional 83 bedrooms. And I had suggested to them
after spending a considerable amount of money, to show them some plans with, I think it was around 70 parking spaces. But what I did was I created this awesome middle area with green space and a community area inside of it. And based on my experience from having all this extra parking at these other larger buildings, I thought, wow, this is really a great opportunity to get more green space. This was ultimately turned down because I didn't have enough parking. But what ended up happening was I went ahead and maximized on the parking that I could have, which ended up over 150 spots. So here I was in this position to ask for less, didn't receive less, so I created more. This is an opportunity for Patrick to try to use the property that he has down the street with, I mean, right now I still have at least an 80% of my lots are full, but 20% of them are still empty. So I have all this parking, and I'm sharing my experience. And I remember one of those on the board talked about factual information. I think it was detriment of abstinence or something like that. I don't know what exactly it said. So what I'm here to do is to demonstrate to you that my parking lots are 20% empty. And if I would have been able to do less, I would have. He's coming to you, in essence, asking for less, but not really, because he has parking down the street that he can deed restrict. So I think it's a great idea for the neighborhood. I think what he's doing, the building that he's doing, I think he's our future, some of these young guys that come in here, and I think what they're doing is some urban renewal, urban growth type stuff. I've done a lot of studies on that. I never ever got a chance to talk about that with anybody, but right now I think that's the direction that he's trying to go in. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. We've heard that argument before about 80% of parking being utilized and the 20, but right now they're going for one-on-one. Okay, this is the last call for anyone who would like to speak in favor of this request. Okay, what about if anyone would like to speak in general comment? Or anyone wishing to speak in opposition will be heard now. Okay, would you like to add anything more?
No, not at this time. I feel everything is...
Well, this is your last chance. Okay.
Actually, could I ask the appellant a question?
Sure, come to the podium, please.
Well, because I think some new ideas in parking facilities don't always reach Athens, and I was impressed with I think it's Riverscape or Riversgate or whatever, the new place that they're building down there by River's Edge.
Yes.
They did some parking, and they called it green parking. Mm-hmm. And I know Mr. Paskey wasn't really pleased with that, but it was a way to accommodate both sides of the story. And I thought it was a nice idea. I mean, the architects, some of them came from California, but Columbus, but the original architect, the owners are out in California, and I think sometimes, nothing against Athens, but the West Coast sometimes is a little more forward-thinking, either because they've been pushed to it or sooner. Whatever. So the possibility exists. You still have 11% of overall property coverage that you could possibly put down those 3 parking places on, and to me it would eliminate all the problem. We wouldn't have to have this conversation. Mm-hmm. It's...
Are you talking about these spaces?
Well, wherever possibly...
Well, we have the tree commission and landscaping ordinance.
Right, they still need 3, but you still have spaces here. I mean, you could put one here, one here. I mean, you could be creative. I mean, there's a way to put them in there. So I'm just asking, right, because they have to have so many trees. I read that. It says that right there on their plat thing. So, I understand what you're saying about parking, but when I went and looked at the property, and I parked the car and looked around a bit. 53 had all of its parking places but one full. So, you know, hit or miss. Sometimes I think that it's just like pharmaceuticals doing their own tests on their drugs and saying, oh, they're perfect. And then the federal government comes out and says, you know, and so I don't disagree with some of these statistics, but I think they're not always all the statistics. And for right now, it seems like if the possibility exists of some kind of compromise, like a green parking area, then it would be something I would favor over any kind of variance approval. I've personally seen when people have deed-restricted parking off-site, they end up parking on the street. I mean, it happens in my neighborhood. It's you know, and so then, and street is very awkward down where you are because there really is no parking down there. So I don't know where they're going to park on Mill Street, you know, and leave their car every 24 hours. But you know, all those sorts of complications then
I intended
arise.
on having parking for everybody that's living there.
I realize that with the Palmer Street place, but I would imagine some of those places are pretty crowded too. But anyways, my suggestion is that the compromise to me would be to put in some kind of green parking on site, meet all your needs.
Given the irregularity of the lot and the non-conforming characteristics of it, I know I might run into some difficulties trying to find a spot that's not in a setback, like the front setback or so, for what you've mentioned there with those green parking places. And I'm not extremely versed on those either. Because as far as I understand, that's probably the first time that it's really been used.
That's what I'm saying. I mean, it wouldn't hurt to bring something new like that. And the other option is, have you talked to code about designated some smaller parking spaces so that the spaces wouldn't have to be as large, which would also help accommodate this?
Well, that would require another variance also because there's certain size requirements for each spot. So I guess what I was going for in this situation was the least amount of variances possible because that might be another variance in addition to this, in addition to what I'm asking. So I can certainly entertain those ideas. It just was not part of my initial thought process. As far as making smaller spots or anything, I just thought it'd be easier for me to use the spots I already had.
I mean, the city's even considering making its on-street parking sites that are metered smaller because we do have those options now available.
Well, it wasn't necessarily, like, as far as I knew, I didn't think that it was an option for me to use a smaller spot other than with giving special permit, with me receiving special permission.
You would have to get, that is correct.
Which I'm willing to entertain. I'm totally willing to entertain as far as in the areas where I'm able to do something like that. To help squeeze another spot in or whatever we might be able to do there. So, but as far as in my mind, it just seemed easier to deed restrict the ones on Palmer Street because I already had them. It was all with me, even though they're going to park across the street at the properties owned by Bobcat Rentals. So it's just because I have the access to that. It's it's obviously a very unique situation that probably most people don't have too. So, but which is also why I thought the deed restricting, in case something were to happen between us, it's always allocated for.
Right, and of course we don't give the variance to you, we give it to the property.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, so that situation.
Okay.
I have one more
go
question.
ahead.
Tell me exactly how many feet it is from this property to Palmer Place.
It's a little over 1,000 feet to Palmer Street.
Yeah, it's quite a ways.
Yeah.
So you're asking us to give us fictitious variance that you're not even going to use? And
I hate to say it like that. Because
well, you didn't have to, right?
I know. I hate to say it like because the only reason why it's like that is because of my current employment and familial status. I mean, say I didn't have my job with them, like I would need that variance for those 3 spots that I have on Palmer Street. So it's just, I think that my unique position, my exceptional circumstances, and I just tried to make you all aware of what they were as far as, personally how it pertains to me. So if you want me to make them park over there on Palmer, I'd be more than happy to make them.
You can't.
No, that's not what we're talking about here at all. No. I mean, that's not the issue here.
I don't
That's
think you'll be
definitely
able
not
to
the
make
issue.
them.
Okay, I think we discussed this enough. Right.
Yes, I'm finished. Thank you.
Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you guys for your time.
Okay, Ms. Holler, would you like to make the motion
No, I don't think I would this time.
this time? Okay, anybody else wants to make the motion, either with or without the 3 deed restricted properties?
Too hard.
Okay,
I'll start it. You might have to
okay.
Yeah.
coach me. I move that the board grant a variance in case 1602V, Zone R3, 125 East Union Street from ACC 231001, Schedule of Bulk Controls, Table B, off-street parking requirements, to allow construction of an apartment building with 12 parking spaces where 15 are required. Is there
Okay,
or?
what I understood,
Were you finished?
no, let me clarify this. What you suggested was to go with this and to take a vote, and if it did not pass, then add the 3.
I didn't even say that.
Okay, okay, so
I
then
mean,
go
this is the
ahead.
variance we have. This is what we should do.
So, but certainly if, we could certainly add the thing about the restricted parking.
Okay,
lanes
that's what I
if-
initially said.
If you think that has a better chance, okay.
Yeah, I think so. So, 12 on site, and with additional 3 deed restricted parking spaces that are over 250 feet from the property.
Yeah.
But, and give the address of the Palmer
At 7
place.
Palmer Street.
What's
Yes.
the address?
7,
7 Palmer Street.
Okay.
that's the original.
Yeah, you want to add that?
Yeah, at 7 Palmer Street. That are
Okay.
deed restricted.
Mr. Eschenbacher, you got that part, everything?
I'll listen to it tomorrow, I'll get it.
Okay.
Do you have a second?
Second.
We have second Lisa Carson. Okay, let's go to the findings. Exceptional circumstances. There are exceptional or extraordinary circumstances or conditions applying to the property in question or to the intended use of the property that do not apply generally to other properties or classes or uses in the same zone. Shape of the lot?
Well, no, I don't think it's a bare piece of property, so it can be unique unto itself.
Well, but it is not a usual shape for property.
It is a peculiar shaped property, but it is sufficiently large to probably cover all the needs.
Okay. If I heard correctly, he said he could build it bigger and larger and not even being here, so.
I believe that was if he could get parking across the street, isn't it?
No, I guess he said he wouldn't even
No,
be
he said he could cut out some of the green space and put the parking in.
Well, he's required to have a certain amount of green space, so
Yeah.
I can't.
30%.
Okay, so I can't. speak to
property.
that. Okay.
Okay, let's go to the second one. Practical difficulty and undue hardship. Are we creating a hardship because of exceptional or extraordinary circumstances that the literal enforcement of these regulations will result in practical difficulty or undue hardship that is unnecessary to the achievement of the public purposes?
I think no, not as we're asked to define that. I mean, I think we're very sympathetic, but according to how we're asked to define that, I would argue no.
Okay. Preservation of equal property rights. The literal interpretation of these regulations would deprive the appellant of rights commonly enjoyed by others in the same zone and the same vicinity, while the granting of the requested variance will not confer on the applicant any special privilege that is denied to other properties in the same zone and the same vicinity.
Well, let's just speak to that big complex that was built by the people from California. When they first came, they did not have enough parking. We said, no way, go home. And they found more parking and changed the structure of the building, and now they have sufficient parking.
Okay. Minimum variance. The variance granted is the minimum variance required to make possible the reasonable use of the property. I think it is.
Well, he can make a use of the property without the variance. He might have to change some things,
Yeah.
but it's not as
Cut
if
back in number of tenants, 12 instead of 15.
there are options.
Absence of detriment. The authorizing of such variance will not be substantial detriment to the adjacent property and will not materially impair the purpose of the zoning code or the public interest. I don't see any.
Well, once again, is it a detriment to assume that people will park far away when we know they won't? Is it a detriment to allow one-person privileges that are not being allowed to others? I don't know. Does that impair the purposes of the
So
code
is
or
it?
not?
You don't know?
I'm asking you.
I don't know.
Okay.
Not of a general nature. Yes or no?
It's getting there, but not yet.
Getting there.
It's definitely getting there. I mean, I think it seems like everyone seems to be aware that there are fewer young drivers. This is a well-known fact. And so we can't take that into consideration. That's something that the city council would need to take into consideration to make a change in the parking requirements. But even though we might be in agreement that a lot of these parking lots are probably underparked, it's not really up to us to say, well, we all know that they're underparked. It's up to city council.
No, we can't do that. We can't legislate. It's okay.
Any other last-minute discussions before we vote? In the control room, could we have a shot of the entire board members, please? All in favor of this variance request, please raise your hand. Okay, I'm the only one. All in opposition? 4. So you don't have the variance 4-1.
Sounds like a great project. I hope you get it worked out.
I think it just got bigger.
Maybe. We'll see.
Well, I think there's some other things that could happen that would not.
I've been down that road with them on the smaller parking lot one too. Got me down.
Well, yeah, that's maybe a separate discussion. Well, we will have a couple more business to conduct. The minutes of December 8, 2015. Motion to approve.
I move.
Second.
Was here.
All in favor of approving the minutes of December 8, raise your hand.
I wasn't
You
there.
weren't here, okay. We got passed. And this is the month of the year that we select a new chair for 2016. I haven't received any interest from other members. Do we have last minute interest or
I nominate
nomination?
John Gosley.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Yeah, I get to vote.
I don't
Oh, yeah, you did.
All opposed?
Oh, no.
Okay, it's
Okay,
been
that was
an
quick.
honor to serve the board as the chair, and I will look forward to another year.
We thank you, John, for all your
surely
hard work.
do.
You have
Thank you
your
very much.
administrative pulled together. You administratively, you
Thank
do
you.
that really well.
Motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
We are adjourned.